coming on.
Hey, no problem.
Okay,
All good.
today on the show we got Nick Christophers. He's got 4 books out now about the mob. We've got Destinies II, Honor Among Thieves, Mafia Ties, the Greek Syndicates, and a book with John Alite, Prison Rules. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think you said all 4 of them, I believe.
Yeah, I just wanted to kick it off. Could you tell us whereabouts you're from, and how you came to the point where you first started writing?
Oh, okay. A little bit about my background, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I grew up in New York. I grew up in Rockaway Park, which is sort of like near the Howard Beach area where John Gotti was originally, well, not originally from, but when he moved to with his family. And when I was in school, elementary school, that is, that's like from grade 1 to 6. I was kind of bullied when I was a kid. I was picked on every day, and I was beat up every day, getting jumped when I walked home from school. So I was a very timid guy. I was at that time. I was very, quiet, good kid. Came from a nice Greek house, and my father back in those days. Our parents never, didn't raise us to know about how to deal with fights or girls or anything. They just open the door, kick you out, and do what you got to do. So I was a little bit, naive about the thing, but. After a while, after all that bullying, you get to a point where, enough is enough. So when I got into junior high school, I befriended this guy John, who happened to be Greek as well, who was the head of the gang in the school. And I befriended him, and I decided to get involved with the gang itself. So back in those days, you had to do something, to get initiated. So I decided to steal a magazine. And the magazine I tried to steal was Penthouse, sort of like Playboy. And, to impress the guys, So I got pinched. I got caught in the store. Back then, they didn't have cameras and stuff. So they had a cop. Every store had like a security cop, and he saw me, and he stopped me. And he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "No, I'm going home." I said, "No, you're not." I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Pull up your shirt." This was like in the summer. I said, "No, I'm not going to pull my shirt up." He says, "Pull up your shirt." I said, "Okay." See, back then, it was a little different than now. We had kind of respect for the cops. We didn't try to, get in their face kind of a thing. So I did what I was told. He pulled it out of my pants and he says, "What's this?" I don't know how I got that. He says, "Yeah, right." He says, "Listen, you go home. I need your phone number and your address and your father's name. I'm going to call your house and talk to your dad. So just make sure you're there." I said, "Okay, fine." I freaking ran home as fast as possible because the place wasn't too far from my house. So I ran home. And lucky enough, I got there in time when the phone rang. So I picked up the phone and I disguised my voice and, saying, "Hey, officer, how you doing?" "Oh, yes, is this Mr. Christopher?" "Yeah, it is." "Oh, your son, tell the whole story." I said, "Oh, thank you very much, officer. I'll talk to him." So I got away with it. And technically, my father to this day has no idea that even. Around the same time, when I was in junior high school, we took an English class. And in the English class, we had to read a book called The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. Great book, great movie. And the book was sort of like, I connected to it because the characters were very kind of similar to me and what I was going through, like the outcast, kind of thing that joins a gang to try to fit in, kind of a thing. So the 2 characters, Johnny Boy and Pony Boy, I kind of felt connected to these characters. And that's what kind of made me decide to write. So I started writing stories similar to this type of style, about kids that join gangs, this kind of thing. So that's what kind of got me to start to write about stuff like this. But also in the same time period, my father had a cafe, and a lot of the wise guys, mob guys, used to come to my dad's store all the time. He used to have Angelo Ruggiero, who had a house in Cedarhurst, who was with John Gotti back in the day. We had Vic Arena. I knew the whole family. Grew up.
Wow.
He was the boss of the Colombo family. Acting boss. In the 80s, 90s, 80s, 90s. Then Booby Sosani, John Booby Sosani, who was with Sonny Black's crew, which he was part of that movie Donnie Brasco.
Yeah.
Me and Booby became friends actually, and I used to go to AC with him. So I knew these guys. I hung around, I got to know them, and I began getting, like a young guy, you get fascinated by it. You see them come in the restaurant, they're dressed nice, they got a bunch of guys with them, they driving them in the nice caddies or the nice, like John drove a white Lexus. So you get kind of caught up in that whole aura, and that's what kind of drew me into knowing a little more about these people. And I didn't write about mob stuff back then, but I was writing a lot. So I started when I was about 13, 14 years old when I really started writing a lot. But professionally, I would say much later in life, like 24, 25, is when I really started writing for magazines. And I wrote my first book maybe 5 years ago, I think it was. So it took till I wrote books. I wrote in a lot of magazines. So that's how it kind of all started.
Yeah, that's awesome. And which authors and writers did you look up to when you were first starting out? And was there any that particularly inspired you to?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean,
going?
S.E. Hinton for sure. with the book Outsiders. She wrote a great book and a great movie that came out later with Matt Dillon and Patrick Swayze, which was very great. The movie was really good because it's very accurate to the way the book was told. Mario Puzo, The Godfather, I love that book. Nicholas Pileggi. There's so many different writers. George Anastasia, I like a lot. Those kind of guys were Nicolas Gage, who's a fellow Greek like me. He was a great writer. Wrote a book called Mafia USA. Great book. I read that when I was a kid. So yeah, these kind of writers are Jerry Capisi, who I actually met. He used to write for the Daily News. He wrote a couple of books about Gotti and stuff like that. So Jerry was another inspiration. So yeah, all these guys were, I looked up to as fellow writers.
Yeah, just going back to the mob with the mafia, for people listening who don't know about, I guess the structure of a mafia family, could you tell us about that and how they operate, I guess, from your knowledge?
Oh, well, it's pretty simple, really, because it's no different than any CEO company, any conglomerate. You got a boss who's at the head, I'll give you an example, of a family so people can understand even better. For example, you take the Gambino. Back in the day, the boss was back around from the 60s, actually maybe even earlier. No, sorry, up to about 70s rather. Then another boss took over after that. Was Carlo Gambino. So you had Carlo Gambino, who was the boss. Below him, you had Neil Della Croce. You had Tommy Gambino, his brother, I believe it was. So you have the guys under him. There was a boss, under boss. Then there was under boss. After that, there was consigliere, who's sort of like a lawyer who gives advice to the boss. Then below that, you got the capo regimes, which means the captain. So every captain has a crew of 10 soldiers, roughly about 10 guys under, more or less. So then below that, the soldiers, you have the associates, who either could be non-Italian or Italian, that they're the guys who do all the running around. Drug dealers, the bookmakers, the Shylocks, whatever. Those are the guys underneath that make some of the money and kick up to the soldier. The soldier kicks up his end percentage to the captain, and the captain kicks up the rest to the boss. So it's like a pyramid, really, and it's formed even like a pyramid. So that's kind of the way it works, which is almost no different than any company if you really think about it.
Yeah.
Really, you got the employee, the manager, the general manager, then the boss. It's almost the same kind of structure, which actually was really initiated by Salvatore Maranzano, who thought of himself as Julius Caesar back during the Lucky Luciano days, around the 30s, which is when the actual mafia was actually created. Because prior to that, there was no real structure. But Maranzano thought about this idea, just the way I explained it, of sort of the way the Romans had their structure back during Julius Caesar. So Maranzano had that idea, but Maranzano didn't have time to initially initiate it because he was whacked by Lucky Luciano. So Lucky Luciano adopted that idea. So from the time of Lucky Luciano until today, that structure still exists. So that's kind of how it kind of broken down.
Yeah, cool. And did they put together the 5 families? It was the 5 different families who controlled New York?
To be honest with you, the real first family was run by Giuseppe Morello from New Orleans. He was actually the first family that ever really existed, per se. Giuseppe Morello was in New Orleans, and you had guys like Lupo the Wolf. Those guys were in New Orleans, and they kind of came to New York and established themselves. But those guys their main way of making money was counterfeit money. They were big counterfeit. Back in those days, I'm going back to like the 20s.
Yeah.
So that was big back then, counterfeiting. And Giuseppe Morello was very big with that. So was the Wolf. So those guys really had their own kind of family in New Orleans. So that is where it kind of really kind of originated. Then when Luciano came along, they created the 5 families, which are in New York. But there's other families all over the country. I mean, not anymore, but back then. That's kind of decimated at this point.
Yeah. Do you think there's much left of any of the 5 families though in New York, or do you think it's pretty much finished for those guys?
No. I mean, there's still the Bonanno family, Lucchese, Gambino, Genovese. They're still there. They're just nowhere near to what they used to be. It's more like they're almost like street gangs. Almost. I mean, they don't have the kind of pull anymore. After our mayor Rudy Giuliani back in the day, around the 90s, around that time, he decimated them. 80s, when he put the whole commission on trial, all the bosses. At that point, he pretty much screwed them big time. Took away a lot of their power from the union, from the fish market, from the fashion industry, which they all ran. They ran all those rackets. Giuliani took that all away. So they don't have that pull no more in any of those areas. Very, very little. if any.
Yeah.
It's just and John Gotti didn't do them any favors either. You know, as much as I like the man and I respect John Gotti, that is, and I had the pleasure of meeting him once. He was a gangster's gangster, that's for sure. But his ego destroyed him. That ruined him. And it ruined everybody.
Yeah.
When John Gotti went away around 92, a couple of years after that, they decided, all the families decided, pretty much, to shut down all the social. There was
Wow.
you're not going to find guys hanging out on the corner no more. That's the shit. That's been over for 30 years now. Easy. They don't do that no more. They stopped that because it's too much attention. You know, they used to be able to do that, but when Gotti started, thumbing his nose to the FBI and the government, pretty much, excuse my language, pretty much told them to go fuck themselves.
Yeah.
Literally. You tell that the FBI, you tell that the government, you're just giving him a reason to come after you because you're thumbing your nose at them, And he did that all the time. And that just gave him more fuel for the fire. So that created a lot of animosity with a lot of the other families. They even they had a contract out on him, but that never happened. They tried to kill him, but that never occurred. So
was that the Chin trying to kill him?
Yes. Yeah, Chin Gigante, along with Gaspipe Casso and the Lucchese family, they tried to orchestrate something with another mobster from Jersey, Bobby Manna. Bobby Manna was given the contract to take out John Gotti. It just never happened, never occurred. Bobby Manna was pinched before that even happened. So that whole idea, that was gone. But they did kill Frank DeChico, who was very close to John Gotti. And he was one of his captains, but very high on the ladder when they blew him up in the car. That was a Gigante move. Because Gigante hated John Gotti. They don't like him because he was too flamboyant, too out there. Meantime, Gigante played the freaking lunatic and ran a robe, bathrobe, walking around the streets of Greenwich Village.
Yeah, I've seen photos of that. For him to pull that off for so long was crazy.
Exactly, crazy as a fox. He was a very, very smart guy, very intelligent man who knew this guy could have won an award as an actor. He could have made De Niro look bad. I mean, so good. How do you pull that off? It's true. How do you pull it off? They used to pinch him, pick him up. The cops picked him up one day on the street with his bathrobe, and he was, talking gibberish and spitting here and spitting there, and it's not what normal behavior you would think a boss is doing. But Gigante hated it, so he had no desire of going back behind bars. So I think he was so determined to stay out of prison, he kept the freaking lunatic act going.
He done well.
It's pretty amazing. It blows my mind how he kept it up.
Yeah. Do you think they're ever coming back? They're gonna ever get to anywhere near their old heights, or is it finished, done?
No. It's right now, it's what they tried to do, especially in Philadelphia, because Philly was kind of decimated after John Stamford. Really, Nicky Scarfo screwed that whole thing up. But when John Stamford came in, unfortunately, he wasn't the smartest Sicilian boss, because he brought in Ron Pravite, who was an undercover cop. And he fucked them pretty good. So what Philadelphia started doing recently, maybe in the past couple of years, started recruiting Sicilians from Sicily. Wow. And so the Sicilians have a different mentality than the American version of the mobs. Sicilian guys, they have no combustion of whacking anybody. They don't care. You tell them to do something, they go do it. There's no question, no asking nothing. They just do it. They're very devoted to the thing, and they don't question nothing. They just do whatever got to be done. So they're a little more cold-blooded than the American version. So they've been trying to bring these guys in to replenish the rank because there's nobody coming up. Like a baseball, there's no scouts. There's nobody to scout anymore. That's over because the generation, like my son, who's 24, that generation doesn't care about the mob. They don't know what they are. They don't even know what it is. You say Mafia, they're like, who's that? They think it's some kind of new band. They don't know what it is. They don't understand it. So, and a lot of the young kids, Italian generation, not just Italians, in any ethnic group that has the mob, Jewish guys. Jewish gangsters haven't been around since the 50s. Jewish mob, Italian, Greek, Russian, whatever. A lot of the young kids, and American kids anyway, they're becoming CEOs of companies. They're having more opportunities to make a living, to get jobs, being part of companies. So that there's no they're not living on. See, back then, like Luciano days, even John Gotti days, these guys, they went out wearing yesterday's shoes, so they were hungry for money, hungry, to get out of the poverty. These kids don't have poverty no more. They got PlayStation. So it doesn't, they don't got balls. like they did back in those days. And the opportunities are more. So now you have a different version of gangster. You have the blacks, the Cribs, the Bloods, who are the black gangs, the MS-13, the Salvadorian gang, who do come from urban bad neighborhoods, ghettos, that it's sort of like the equivalent of the Italians or the Greeks or whatever, and now it's the Spanish and the black, if you catch my drift. It's like they switch sides,
Yeah.
kind of. The difference is the Cribs, Bloods, black gangs, Salvadorian gangs, MS-13s, and the Latino gangs, the Mexican mafia. These guys are totally different. They have they don't value life whatsoever.
Yeah.
They kill your whole family. They don't care. They kill children, babies. They could care less. It's an interesting saying that John Gotti said in the movie Gotti with Amon Asante. I don't know if you ever saw the movie, but
yeah, it's awesome.
yeah, remember at the end, Amon Asante actually is a good friend of mine. At the end of the movie, Gotti's talking to Frank Locasio in prison. And if you remember the scene where he says, in 100 years, they're going to wish they had John Gotti. Because now they're going to have, what do they got now? They got Mex, they got the Latinos, the blacks, the Russians. There's no barriers. There's no respect for nothing. And you know what? That saying is 100% correct. Because these guys don't care about nothing. They don't value life. They don't value anybody or anything. And it's a different breed of gangsters. It's not even gang. I don't even call it gang. I just call them punks. They're not gangs, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, the Italians had their set of rules that they stuck to or tried to, which I think what you're saying is true, like exactly right what John Gotti said. It's all going to change, and it has.
Well, because it's the Italians, not because it was a moralistic reason. They did it for political reasons. Smart. They didn't want to attention by the police or anybody, because in America it's a lot different than it would be in Sicily. So over here, they understood the parameters, like John Gotti said in the movie. There's parameters. They knew that we're not going to go kill kids. We're not going to kill women. We're not going to blow up a house with a family in it. We're not going to there's certain limits where it's not going to draw attention. We only kill our own kind. So they only killed their own kind. They didn't go out and kill civilians. They didn't whack people off the street for no reason. There was always a reason for everything they did. 9 out of 10, it's always business. That's the difference. That's why the Italians lasted so long. And the Greek mob and the Irish mob to some degree. But these other groups, they're not going to last. They kill each other. They're very fractured. They're not organized. It's a big difference.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. But what do you think with the mafia movies? What's the most accurate one, like for telling the story of this life?
Oh, the most accurate mob movie?
Yeah.
There's not many.
Yeah.
Let me see. That's a good question.
Yeah, the closest to, if anything.
Closest to it that was by the book, in my opinion, would be the Kill an Irishman.
Yeah, okay.
The Kill an Irishman was Paul Sorvino was in it. Vinny Vella, my good friend Vinny, who passed away a couple of years ago. He was in it. Vinny Vella, Paul Sorvino. I can't remember the other guy's name. D'Onofrio. Great movie, very accurate, and I think it was very accurate because it wasn't made by Hollywood. That's the first reason. Movies like Donnie Brasco were totally inaccurate. Goodfellas, inaccurate. Casino, inaccurate. It's crazy how Hollywood takes creative license to an amazingly great level. And I don't know why, but they changed the stories. I can never understand that. Why the story itself is very interesting.
Yeah.
Why twist it, change it? I'll never understand. Actually with Donnie Brasco, if you ever saw the movie, one of the characters in it was the real guy, not the character, but the character the guy was playing was a friend of mine. I mentioned his name earlier, John Booby Sassani. James Russo played his part. He was supposed to be John. And if you remember the part where they go to kill the 3 captains, they kill them in the house and they chop them up. Okay, that thing never happened. First, they never killed them in the house. Number one, Sonny Black, Booby Sassani, Lefty Ruggiero, Nicky Santora, none of those guys had anything to do with it. They weren't even there. None of them. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I'll tell you what actually happened. I'll tell you. But before I even get there, the guy, James Russo, in that scene, Johnny Depp is sitting in the car. If you remember, he's waiting. And there's a guy that runs outside, sits in his car, if you remember. And he's breathing hard. And Johnny Depp asks him, is everything okay? And James Russo doesn't say anything. Then he says, let's go. Now that guy, James Russo, the character he played, he sued the film company for defamation of character. Because they put James Russo's character, who's John, my friend John, they put him at a scene of a crime, of a murder. Meantime, he was never there. And he won the case.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? A mob guy suing a film company. Imagine that.
That's nuts.
And winning.
Yeah, and winning, yeah.
That's funny.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but it's the real thing that happened pertaining to that scene. The 3 captains were supposed to meet Joe Messino, who's upcoming boss of the Bonanno family at that time. And he invited him down for a sit down. And the sit down actually was in Sammy Gravano's restaurant downstairs in the basement. That's where it really happened. And Vito Rizzuto and Georgie Canada, who were both Canadian mafia, who were part of the Bonanno family, came down to meet Joe Messino to take care of this hit. So when Georgie Canada was in the room with Joe Messino and the three captains, Georgie Canada he took his hand and put it through his hair. That was the signal. And two guys, Vito Rizzuto was one of them, came out of a closet with shotguns and that's when they shot all those three guys. That's how it really happened.
That would have been just as good putting that in the movie.
Yeah, there's nothing to do with that, totally completely from the movie. Yeah. Let alone, they didn't cut them up in the restaurant either. Wow. John Gotti's crew came and picked up the bodies and they cut them up.
Wow.
That's how it really happened.
That's crazy. Would that be the most inaccurate movie?
I'm sorry?
Is that the most inaccurate movie, do you think?
Yeah, because it's inaccurate from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
And the scary part of that is that Joe Pistone, who was really Donnie Brasco, who played the undercover cop who played Donnie Brasco, who infiltrated the Bonanno family. He was there. He was on the set as consultant.
Yeah.
Even funnier, because you're the consultant and you lived the life, you lived that whole experience, and the whole story's wrong.
Yeah.
Even the part. I'm sorry. Even the part with Lefty, with Al Pacino. Remember Al Pacino, who played Lefty Ruggiero?
Yeah.
The scene where he gets a phone call and he's got to go in. He was called in, and he takes his jewelry and he puts it takes his watch off and everything, and he puts it in a little desk inside his house and he leaves. That never happened. Lefty Ruggiero was not the one who was called in. Sonny Black. Sonny Black went to a local bar and gave the bartender all the jewelry to give to his wife. Lefty Ruggiero had nothing to do with that.
Yeah. Wow. Sonny Black got killed for bringing in Joe Pistone. Is that right?
Well, to be realistically, Tony Mira was the guy who really brought Donnie Brasco in first.
Yeah. Okay.
Not Sonny Black. First it was Tony Mira. Tony Mira tried to claim him as being his guy, and they actually had a sit down between Tony Mira and Sonny Black to see who's going to own Donnie Brasco. So they had to have a sit down for it, because Tony Mira met Donnie first. But they had a meeting, and it was made clear that Tony Mira had no right, didn't win the argument, and Donnie Brasco ended up with Sonny Black. So yeah, Sonny Black got killed because he brought in an FBI agent.
Yeah, imagine that, having a sit down, both trying to claim an FBI agent. How that would have looked back then.
Yeah, they must have been smacking themselves in the face after that. That's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah.
But then again, you gotta see. It's kind of, how would I put this? There's no way that Tony Mira, Sonny Black, or Lefty would have even known if Donnie was an FBI agent. How would they ever know? They did background checks. They did a background check on him, and he came up clean. So there's no way they would have known. Absolutely no way. But there's another thing, Tom, that I want to throw in here, and I'm sure you might agree. I've seen Joe Pistone on interviews and stuff, and I got nothing against the guy. I applaud him for doing what he did. You know, that takes a lot of balls. But hey, look, you got a job to do, right? So when he was supposedly being sponsored to be inducted in the mob, to get his button, so to speak, and back in those days, you're talking about the mid 70s, late 70s. Back then, the mob was extremely strong, and they followed every rule. So when you want to get inducted in the mob, you got to kill somebody. That's the first thing. He never whacked anybody, as far as we know. So okay, there's only two ways to get in the mob, to get inducted. One, either you witness a killing, you're part of whacking somebody, or you set it up. Or the only other alternative is you're an amazing earner, incredible earner, like unbelievable. Donnie Brasco was not an incredible earner, and he didn't whack nobody. So it strikes you as, wait a minute, how can he get sponsored to get inducted in the mob by Sonny Black, who was a wild man, one of the craziest, murderous crew guys, captains that is. So he's getting sponsored to get inducted, but he never killed anyone, and he never beat nobody up, because as an FBI agent, you're undercover, you're not supposed to do anything violent. By law, you're not supposed to, right?
Yeah.
So how's he getting sponsored if he never did anything? How do you last that long without doing nothing around guys these violent? How's that possible? I question that. So something doesn't sound right. He's not telling us something, obviously.
Yeah.
There's no way you can be around mob guys and never beat nobody up, never shake nobody down. You never killed nobody. You didn't bring that much money. He was a freaking jeweler. He brought in, swag. It's like the guys that came into my dad's cafe. They used to bring swag through the back door. TVs. How many stuff in my house that was stolen? Forget about it. My father would buy TVs for like $20. It was a joke. Sneakers, shoes, suits. We used to get stuff in the store all the time. Those guys used to come in the back door with a truck full of stuff. We used to say, fell off a truck, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So there's no way this guy couldn't have done anything. It's hard to believe.
Yeah, he's hiding something. He's had to do something. Do you think he had a big part in, I guess, ruining the mob today, or like decimating it to the point where it's gotten to now?
You mean the Donnie Brasco situation?
Yeah.
No, I don't think. Well, he gave it he gave it a hard hit. I'm not gonna say he didn't, but that was like in the mid '80s. So the mob was still around. It wasn't losing anything. It lost some power. The Bonanos lost a little bit of respect with the other family. They didn't have, but they kind of regenerated. They kind of regenerated later on. You know, the one thing about the mob guys, the mob in general, you can knock them down, but you're not going to decimate them completely. It's just not going to happen. They may not be as what they used to be. They're not 100% anymore, like they were in the 50s, 60s, 70s, let's say mid 80s. So right now, out of 100%, there may be, I would say maybe 40% level at this point. You know, I mean, they still do, you know, some shylocking, gambling, offshore betting, you know, loan sharking for guys who can't get money from bank, kind of a thing. The drugs to some degree, not really, because now the Colombians are very big on the drug market. The Salvadorians, the Mexicans, you know, at this point, the Mexican mafia is almost somewhat replacing the Italian mob to some degree.
Well, I was going to ask you, do you think I was reading a book when I was younger, and about the Iceman when I was a teenager. I must have been like 14 or something, and I forget his real name. But yeah, all the I'm not sure if you heard of that one, but all these
what was the title of it?
The Iceman.
Oh, geez. Kuklinski?
That's it. And everyone now, I've been hearing that is full of shit.
He's full of shit.
Yeah.
Nothing in there is real. He was a serial killer. He did a little bit of work with Roy DeMeo, a little bit, nothing major. Because in the mob in general, they're not gonna. First of all, they don't forget about movies and TV that they tell you they hire guys from out of the state and blah blah. That's bullshit. Mob guys take care of their own business and their own family. They don't bring in outsiders because an outsider can flip and he can say something to somebody. He can turn on you. They keep it within their own family. Extremely rare that they use an outside source. Very rare. You know, it really all depends, but they're not going to use a non-Italian who's not a made guy, some psycho serial killer, to go do business for them. Get the hell out of here. That's bullshit. I don't believe anything he says. Well, he did say he's not alive anymore, but
yeah.
You know, I don't believe anything. He's a storyteller.
Yeah, because in the book, he had a hand in like every major hit, and just the amount of people he reckons he killed was just...
Yeah, sort of my grandmother. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
He's full of it.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about what you thought of him, about that story. And also what do you think happened with Jimmy Hoffa?
Well, what I think happened, and the one movie that I think kind of really caught the truth, not The Irishman, because that sucked, and it wasn't accurate either. Robert De Niro sucked in that movie. He was terrible. Pacino shouldn't be even acting. I love it, but in that movie, he made Jimmy Hoffa look like he was fucking like about to drop dead at any given time. Jimmy Hoffa was a bull of a man, strong, very powerful guy. Jack Nicholson played him to a T. The movie Hoffa that Jack Nicholson played in, and my friend Armand Asante, that's fairly accurate. If you remember at the end of the movie, he's in the car at a restaurant at a meeting, and Sally Bugs was with him. I believe Sally Bugs killed him. That's what I believe. And then they buried him somewhere. They took him out of the car, took him and rolled him in a truck, not in the car that he was killed. They put him in a truck and they drove away. That's what I believe. Where he's buried, who the hell knows? It's not going to be in the back of Giant Stadium, that's for sure. What do you call it? Frank Sheeran from The Irishman had nothing to do with it. Never killed him. That's bullshit. So this guy Kuklinski never killed him. That's another lie. So I think Sally Bugs has something to do with it. That's what I believe. I believe the Detroit guys and the guys in Chicago gave Sally Bugs the go ahead. That's what I believe. Carlos Marcello, the guys in Chicago, maybe it was Tony Accardo, possibly one of the guys in New York, maybe Gambino. One of them gave the go-ahead. So that's what I believe is true.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, you know, after all these years, usually something comes out or there's an informant or someone's dying and they just admit to something. But this one stayed cold for this long.
Yeah, well, because still a lot of Hoffa's family is still alive. I believe his son is still alive, Hoffa Jr. So I think they did it for that purpose, keep it under the rope for that reason. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Like Sheeran said whatever he said on his deathbed at 86 years old, making all these stories up. Because all those guys he talked about were dead. Russell Fulfilino's dead. Hoffa's obviously dead. Joey Gallo's dead. He claimed he killed Joey Gallo. He had nothing to do with Joey Gallo. Zero, nothing. He never met him at the Copacabana. He never shot him at Umberto's. The guys who shot him at Umberto's were Sonny Pinto and Philip Gambino. Had nothing to do with Sheeran. Nothing. I mean, that's, I don't know why. Nothing irritates me more, Tom, is when guys make up fairy tales. It just
Yeah.
irks.
Yeah, it's crazy that he'd do that. It's like, yeah, I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah, yeah, look, he's 86 years old, in bed, hallucinating, making up stories. I mean, yeah. I mean, what has he got to lose? He's going to die. So
Yeah.
he can make up stuff. Who's going to counter him? Nobody.
Do you reckon there's people out there going, yes, he's taking it for us, like some of
I
the
guess
old
so.
time?
Yeah.
Uh, Another thing I wanted to ask you, like, did any of these guys ever reach out to you now and wanting you to write it with their stories and, like, I guess collaborate on anything? Do you have anything like you're working with anybody?
Oh, I mean, now, presently, or that I have?
Yeah, like I've seen, you've done the book with John Alite, Prison
Yeah.
Rules, and yeah, something like that.
Well, yeah, actually, well, I did the book with Johnny Alite, who's a good friend of mine, and but that book was not about the mob. It's about prison rules. It's about how to survive in prison,
Yeah.
and it was really meant for young people, men and women, scare them straight, not to get involved in street life. That's what it was meant for. So yeah, I did some work with John on that book. I was gonna do the third book that I did, Mafia Ties, the Greek Syndicates, which is about my people, the Greek mob. And originally, it wasn't supposed to be that. Originally, I was doing a story about the head of the Greek crew here in New York, who I know personally. I know his whole family. And his name is Spiro. And I was going to do a story about his life. In the beginning, he was okay with it. So this is going back, I think, around 2001. And he was in prison. He's doing life, actually. He's been in prison since 92, 93. And he was okay with me doing a book about his life. So I said, okay. So with the blessing from his wife and his daughters and his son, I went ahead and started doing it. So out of respect to him, I mailed him my first chapter so he can read it, So I sent it to him, right? So he calls me up from inside. Hey, Nick, how you doing? I said, good, Peter, what's going on? He says, listen, I read the first chapter. I don't understand. You make me sound like Al Capone. I said, wait a minute. I said, Spiro, what do you want me to say? That you were a choir boy? You were head of a crew. You were at the gambling, Shylock, and loan shark. What do you want me to say? I just want you to talk about how the government fucked. I said, I know they did. No, it's true. That is true. He
Yeah.
he got railroaded. He went to prison for murder that he had nothing to do with. So that is true. But I was telling him, I can't just write a book about how the government screwed you.
Yeah.
Who's going to want to read that? You're not a household name. You don't have a John Gotti name. You're not that. It's not like everybody knows who you are. So we have to start from the beginning. How you work with the Italians and blah, blah, blah down the line. No. I don't want you to write about it. I want you to write how I started. So he didn't want, so he opted out. I understood that. I give him credit for not wanting to talk about it. He's old school. I get it. And I can respect that. So yeah, that was another guy I was going to do work with. But that didn't happen, obviously. So I changed the thing. We did write about him in my book because I have a chapter about New York. So I do speak about it. So that's one guy. Like you answer your question. Another guy I was going to do a book with, he's my good friend, Billy Catolo. Billy Catolo's father was Wild Bill Catolo from the Colombo family. And Bill Jr. was, involved with his father. And I was going to do a book with Billy, but we started it, but he decided that not him, but his son, his youngest son, oldest son rather, wanted to do the book with his father. So I understood that. And I said, okay, I can respect that. And I backed off, so we didn't move ahead with it. I do have two other books I'm doing now. One is about a guy that I'm collaborating with, who's in prison doing life. He's my friend, Nicky DiPietro. He was with the Philly mob. Who I visited a couple of times in prison already. And I'm doing his memoir of his life with the Philly mob. I'm doing that one with him. And I'm going to be starting another one with a woman whose grandfather, his name is Peter Theodore, was connected with the New Orleans Carlos Marcello mob. But he was a Greek guy, but he was connected with the New Orleans crew. So those are what I'm doing at the moment.
Wow, that'd be awesome to see that. And I heard you're looking at is Destinies becoming a movie? It's being turned into a movie, your first novel?
Yeah, we're trying. I'm in the midst just now. I'm not going to get to the whole story and bore you, but I have a new production team because my last production team, unfortunately, the woman who ran it unfortunately passed away. So I had to get a new production team, which I did. And it's run by Lou Martini Jr. and Tony D'Antonio. Lou Martini Jr. actually is an actor who was in The Sopranos, a good friend of mine. And he's coming on. It's very possible that we're going to be working together as my production team. We have the script has already been done a while ago. So we're very close to moving on to getting distribution. And after distribution, then we're going to go start hunting down the desk. So we're pretty close to try to get this thing moving. We have actors. I have actors already interested already. I have an IMDb page for Destinies the movie. So you can see some of the actors on there that already are interested in being part of it. Got a guy from Bronx Tale, another guy from Boardwalk Empire, another guy, Pranos. So, people want to check it out, they can see. So we're getting there.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I've seen that the screenplay already won an award. It's a semi-finalist in the Big Apple Film Festival.
Yes, I submitted the screenplay, and yeah, I got into 2 different film festivals, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
But
that's
right
awesome.
now, but right now I'm not looking to submit the screenplay so much. What I did recently is we did a promo reel for the film. The actors in it are not the actors that are per se going to be part of the film, but we did like a little promo, like a trailer sort of kind of a thing. But it's more like a promo reel just to get the buzz going.
Yeah.
So it's done. I haven't released it yet publicly because I want to do like a little premiere thing.
Yeah.
So people can come out, they can check it out, and it gets the buzz going and people start to remember the name. So eventually I'm going to be doing that probably pretty soon.
Yeah, awesome. That'll be exciting, man. That'll be cool. Having your own movie come out, your book.
God willing.
Yeah, no, I think it'll happen. From what advice would you give to like someone who wants to write their first book, their first novel?
Well, if somebody wants to write a book, first of all, they got to be very well read. In other words, you have to read a lot. Me, I go through like maybe, I don't know, 3 books a month. I read a lot, and I always have since I was a kid. Because when you read a lot, you can write better because your vocabulary is growing. You're learning more words, you're learning how they're structured. And reading a book, you find out how the book is structured, how the book is done, how the characters are developed. All these things are very important. I work a little bit untraditionally than most people. I don't sit there and make an outline, okay, A, B, C, I don't do that. Some people do, which is a very traditional way of doing it. I'm very different where I just write. I just go at it. And I have something in my mind and I just go ahead and write. I mean, I change it. I mean, Destinies, my God, I forgot how many drafts I went through already with that book before I published it. And even after I published it, I still wasn't happy with it. I still wanted to say, oh shit, man, I should have changed this or I should have took that. Like the screenplay, it's very much, it's similar, but very much different than the book because there's a lot of things that we took out. We had to remove, which is called color. So we took a lot of that color out and left sort of like the soul of the book in the screenplay. But for advice to writers who want to write a book, write a lot. Doesn't make a difference how many drafts you do. Doesn't make a difference. It doesn't matter. You'll never be satisfied. I don't care what anybody. You'll never be happy. You'll always want more or better or whatever. That's what a real writer is. A real writer is always going to criticize himself. That's the only way that's the only way you get better. If you can't take criticism, don't bother writing a book. Don't bother making a movie because that's going to happen. I'm waiting for it. When my film comes out, I'm waiting to get criticized. I don't care. Bring it on because that's how you learn more. You learn from listening to other people. Oh, maybe you're right. You know what? Maybe I should have done that. You know what? Maybe I should, whatever it may be. But I definitely would say write every night, whether it's a page, maybe it's 10 pages, doesn't matter. Just write every night and build. Most important thing, I think, depending on what kind of book you're writing, whether it's a drama, whether it's a comedy, it depends what you're writing, really. But if it's a fiction story, try to develop the characters. Give the characters a soul. Make them very human so people can relate, so they can keep on reading. You want to humanize them a little. And most important thing, I think, in my opinion, when I write, I don't put a lot of detail, meaning I don't what I mean by detail is the blue chip on the wall was leaking or the carpet was red and with marble colors. I don't do all that because I think when you start giving too much, I read books where somebody's detailing a rug or a chair in a room, it would take up a whole fucking page. I'm like, get to the damn story already. I don't care about a goddamn chair. So some people write very detailed like that. I can't stand that. I think a book should be pretty focused on the characters to bring you want people to visualize character and make them feel like they're in the book themselves and they're sitting there with the characters and they're feeling it. I think that's very important.
Yeah, that's great advice, man. That's really cool. What's your top 3 books of all time?
Oh shit, you're putting me on the spot here, bro.
Sorry, man.
Top 3 books. You mean mob books or just books in general?
Books in general. Top 3 books that have had an impact on you that you could read, over and over again.
Oh, okay. Well, that's easy. S.C. Hinton, The Outsiders, for sure. I've read that I don't know how many times. The Godfather by Mario Puzo. And the third one, I think would be, geez, I can't think of the name right now. I can't think of the title. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think of the title right now. And it's escaping me at this point. I think it's called Windswept or something like that, I believe. It's a story. It's not a mob book. It's actually a story I can relate to because it was about it's a historical book about how the Greeks got their independence from the Ottoman Empire. And that's what it's about. I can relate to it because my parents told me about it when I was a kid growing up. They were telling me about stories about, my great grandfather and great uncle, whatever, when they fought in the war. So I was able to relate to it because I was always very in touch with my culture as a Greek. So that book really was interesting because it was fiction, but it was based on a true event. So those three books, I think, were pretty much touched me in a certain way, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I haven't seen that. Yeah, I have to find out that last one that you're talking about, the title. That'll be awesome to check out.
Which one?
That with the Greek one.
Oh, yeah, I got to give you the correct title. I think it's called Windswept, but I got to get to the right title. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I can picture the freaking cover. I just
Yeah.
can't remember the damn name.
Yeah, that's all good, man. Another question I always ask everyone: what's the top three movies of all time that you could watch over again and again?
The Godfather, which I was watching right before you got on. The Godfather for sure, because the acting and everything and the storyline, phenomenal. The Godfather for sure, even though it was inaccurate, I thought Donnie Brasco was great, because it was inaccurate, but that's the way the mob guys are. They got that right, the way they really are, they depicted them the right way, how vicious, cruel, backstabbing, exactly the way they are. So I would say that one. Third one, that I can watch over and over again. Rule Boy. It's always the third one that sticks me here.
Yeah.
Scarface.
Yeah, that's cool.
Scarface I can watch over. That's a great. Pacino was great. Movie was great. Again, fiction, not real, but it was based on how the Cubans ran the drug trade in Florida. So it is pretty accurate in that fashion.
Yeah. Yeah, it's three Pacino movies right there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
That's correct. Oh, shit.
That's cool. I wanted to ask you too, publishing your books and stuff, how does that all come about from start? Does it take a long process for you to start, finish a book, get it published, the whole process there?
Well, Destinies, for one, I wrote it 12 years ago, maybe more. And I never really thought about publishing. I just never, I don't know, I didn't have the balls to do it. I don't know. When I started writing for a magazine called Mob Candy Magazine in the 2000s, I decided to, publish the book. And I did go to an agent, but she didn't really do much for me. Didn't go anywhere. So at that point, I kind of like put it on the shelf kind of thing. And I revisited it maybe about 5 years ago. I decided I revisited the idea and I rewrote it. It took me about a year to rewrite the whole thing, structure it better. Because remember, I wrote it 12 years ago. So I decided to fix it. So I fixed it. It took me about a year. And I went to a convention, book convention here in New York. And I said to myself, what better way to try to get a book published is go to all the publishing houses, at the convention. So I went to every single booth. And there was one booth that my friend Stevie told me about called Austin McCauley, which is a London, New York company. And I carried I had a little postcard made of the book, information about the book, the cover, and the back thing, because I self-published it first.
Yep.
First self-published it on Amazon. And then I made a poster of the cover, and the back of it was like quotes from people that liked it, guys who have names. So I had a stack of those cards. I had a magazine, Mob Candy magazine with me, because it was a mob story. Why not carry the magazine? So, and give it to the publisher so they see that, okay, this guy's he's a writer, he knows about the subject area. So I stopped by Austin McCauley. I gave him my business card, poster, the book, the magazine, and a little flyer about my book. Lo and behold, contact, and they wanted to look at my book. I sent it to them. Maybe about a month later, I get a letter that they were going to publish. So it took me a year to rewrite it, and then to publish it, to get it published and done. That took about maybe 9 months, the whole process. It takes time. They don't do it right away. So, but to be honest with you, I'm happy I got it published. It's a bragging right, but unfortunately, the publishing company doesn't do anything for you. They don't promote it. They don't do shit. Yeah. I did everything. Honestly, Tom, I made more money when I self-published it than I did when I published it.
Wow.
It sounds crazy, right?
Yeah.
But I made more money that way.
Yeah. So you just got to push it yourself.
Yeah, but I was pushing it when I first self-published it, but I made more money then. People were ordering the book from me constantly. So I was doing great. I said, fuck, man, I should have left it that way. Why'd I even go to them? But again, I think nowadays people get their books published. It's like a bragging right. Hey, I got published. I'm a published author. Prison Rules was published also by California Public, but I was able to get out of contract with him because the guy wasn't doing anything for us. He said he was going to do A, B, and C in the contract that he wasn't doing any of these things. I told the guy, me and John went out of the contract. So we got out of the contract. Then I went back and I self-published. We were making more money. That book sells more than anyone.
That's crazy.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
So I would suggest for writers, unless you're really, really desperate to get published, self-publishing is the best. You make more money because you have total control.
Yeah, okay. And what, you just find like a distributor, like a printer, and get it all shipped to you? And
What do you mean, self-publishing, you mean?
yeah,
Yeah, when you self-publish it, you're allowed to order a certain amount of books to send you a few for free. And if you want to order books and sell on your own, I mean, of course, self-publishing, you can do that. But and then you buy them and you get them for a certain percentage less than what the face value is, which is good. So let's say Destinies, when I was self-published, I was selling it for like 18 bucks, right? So when I would buy it itself from Amazon, I would get it for like, I think like $12, $13. So I would resell it for 18 bucks. So I'm making $5. I'm making more money for myself. It was no, maybe not. Sorry, it was actually $6. Apologize. I think it was $6 or $7. I would buy it for $6 or $7 and sell it for 18.
Yep.
So I'm making a $10 profit for myself. So that's why I was making more money, because not from them buying it only from Amazon. What I did was, when I was pushing it on Facebook and Twitter, I would say my new book is out now on Amazon. Blah blah blah. If you want to get a signed copy, email me. So people would order from me directly because they want a signed copy. So I would buy them at a lower price and sell them for the face value and make more money.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, so self-publishing's the way.
Yeah, because if you publish it with a publishing company, you can tell them, "Oh, send me a couple. I want to sign it." It's not going to happen.
Yeah. And how'd you get to first meet Larry Mazza? He's an awesome guy. I've done an interview with him as well.
Yeah, Larry's a great guy. I was actually on his show, Mob TV, about a couple of months ago. Should be coming out soon. I met Larry in Florida last year, we connected through my friend John, through Johnny Alite. I connected through John with Larry, and it's just so funny because Larry, when Larry and I started talking, we knew a lot of the same guys growing up. Because when they had the Colombo War, I'm sure Larry talked about it with you. During the Colombo War, the guys I was friends with were on the other side of the war. He was fighting them.
Wow.
So the Arena, Vic Arena, and all that crew were friends of mine. So it was funny when me and him started talking. I said, "Yeah, me and Vic were good friends growing up. I know the whole family." He started laughing. He said, "Shit, man, I was fighting those guys."
That's cool that you can still, get along though and talk about it now.
Yeah, we could talk about it and joke about it and sort of, like Bill Cotolo, I was telling you about before. Bill Cotolo and I are good friends.
Yep.
And Bill Cotolo, same thing. Bill Cotolo, while Bill's father had a contract to kill Greg Scarpa, who Larry Mazza was involved with. And while Bill Jr. and me are friends, but Bill Jr. and Larry have become friends as well, even though back in the day, they were shooting at each other. It's kind of crazy, but, you mature, they're not in our life, you're not in our life no more. So, why not help each other out?
Yeah, definitely.
So,
got a good story to tell.
Yeah, he does. That's for sure. Crazy.
I'll make sure I link all your social medias on the interview too, and put your books on there.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Could you give people a summary of your first novel, Destiny, for people to look for and buy? What's it all about? Like just a intro.
Oh, okay. I try to break it down as best I can. Well, the main character is a woman. Her name is Nina. And Nina's a very good girl from a good Italian family. And she's very, she has a good Samaritan kind of soul. And one evening, a guy, Santo his name is a mob guy, soldier at this point, is involved in a shootout, an ambush. And he gets away from his assailant and he's looking for some refuge. And he comes across this house down in a residential street, and the lights are on. And that's Nina's house. So he goes there and knocks on her door. She lets him in, not realizing, she's she's a little naive. So she opens the door, seeing this guy, opens the door, and he falls into her house on her, rug. And she's like, "Oh my God, what happened?" She eventually helps him out, patches him up. He was shot in the leg, grazed in the leg, patches him up, and he leaves. She thinks she'll never see him again. Lo and behold, she finds out by reading a newspaper, seeing his picture on the paper, then realizing who this guy is. So she's like beside herself. "Oh my God, I helped a wise guy. Holy shit." So eventually happens is Santo's family, his boss, tells him, "You got to go find this girl that helped you and make sure she keeps her mouth shut." So he does that. And evidently she gets caught in the mob web. She's forced to work for them so they can keep their eyes on her. So she inadvertently gets she gets caught in the mob web. Eventually she hates Santo at this time. Can't stand it. But as the story moves along, she falls in love with him. They get married. They have a kid. Now, at this point, when they're married, Santo's a boss. The real boss, Paul, dies. He becomes a boss. They have a child, like I said. When they have a child, unfortunately, not that I want to give the story away, but Nina is killed in a car accident. So now he lost his wife. Now, before she dies, before that tragic incident, he promises her that he'll never allow her son to be involved in the mob life. He promises that. So after she dies, he puts his son up for adoption. He's 2 years old. So he doesn't, you know, a 2-year-old kid, he doesn't know what's going on. So he gets adopted by a nice little white waspy family. Now he gets raised in his family. Mind you, he doesn't know who his father is. He thinks his adopted father is his father. No idea. He eventually becomes a prosecuting attorney for the district attorney's office.
Wow.
Because he wants to be a lawyer. So one time while he's working for the DA, he's offered to work with the DA as an assistant on a case involving his father, his biological father. But he doesn't know it. When he's ready to go to trial, he discovers through his mother's best friend, when they were younger, she confronts him and tells him, do you have any idea who this guy is? And he goes, no. He says, that's your father. He says, what? So he goes to trial. He goes through with it. Plus his father goes to prison. So because if he was to expose the fact that he's his father and he's prosecuting him, that would discredit the case, it would prejudice the case. He would be released. He would be thrown out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at the end of the story, Tommy, which is the boy's name, the son's name, he receives an anonymous fact that in the fact, it says to him, if you don't find a loophole to free Santo and his partner, Willie, will expose the fact that you are related, which would prejudice the case anyway, but it would ruin your career. That's where the book kind of ends.
That's cool. Yeah, so everybody get that book. That is awesome.
Yeah, it's different than any kind of mob story. It's very different.
Yeah, that's a different take on it.
Yeah, it's not a typical thing.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I look forward to all your projects coming out. Like I think getting a movie made will be awesome, man.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I won't keep you. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. It was cool. Definitely cool.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I know you're busy. I don't want to hold you up too long.
No, not at all. All good.
Yeah, thanks for coming onto the show.
Oh, no problem. My pleasure.
Yeah, and I'll let you know when it's up. And it's been great talking to you, man. I'd love to have you on here again.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good to me.
Thanks very much.
You're from what, Australia?
Australia, yeah.
Yeah, I know it. I know because I figured of the hour difference. I'm like, wait a minute, what the fuck? Wait a minute, 9:30 in the morning. So
yeah.
That can throw me off a little bit, but I kind of got it.
Yeah, because it's nighttime for you there, right? Yeah. Hey.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like 10:40 in the morning now. Most people there want to do it the other way around, so I'm usually up late. So yeah, it's a bit of a change.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. Actually, in my book, my third book about the Greek mob, I got a whole chapter in Australia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because there was a Greek mob in Australia. There was not really a big one, but there was a couple of guys like from what's it called?
Melbourne.
Huh?
Was it Melbourne?
I think it was
Sydney?
Melbourne and Sydney.
Yeah. Oh. King's Cross, yeah.
The King's Cross area. There was another area. Geez, I can't remember right now.
Was it Graft?
I'm sorry? Graft? Maybe Graft, I'm not sure, but it's in my book. Yeah. There was a Greek guy in King's Cross. His name is Constantine, my God, Kontonakos. They called him King Khan because he ran the King Cross area. He was a boss over there of the Greek crew over there. They ran that section. There was a couple of crews over there in that thing in the Sydney. I think it was Sydney area, I believe. About 4 or 5 different crews. Yeah, and not just Greek. There was Irish. There was an Irish crew. There was Albanian. Croatian, I think. Croatian, Irish, Sicilian, and there was the K&G gang, which was the leader was Greek. Paulie K, and Benjamin Verminian. He's also Greek. Yeah, those guys. Benji, they used to call him. Yeah,
Benji Veniman. Yeah.
He's Greek actually.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's I got a whole thing in Australia about those guys.
Nah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And let you know when it's up.
All right. That sounds good, man. I appreciate it, Tom.
I appreciate you talking to me, man. It's been awesome. Well, hopefully we can do this again. Thanks very much.
No problem, brother. I appreciate it.